Aloha, sweet Maui people. My name is Christina, and I'm a California Wildfire Survivor who also lived on the west side of Maui for 8 years. This will be the last of my Maui Fire recovery series, and if you missed the first 5 videos I did before this one, I'll put the links down below in the description. Actually, I might do one more to show you guys what our town looks like 2 years later after the fire happened. It doesn't look that much different. Hopefully, you guys will recover faster and better than we did. Okay. By now, you guys have a lot more information than when I first started these videos, having been to the resource centers and the community centers, the community meetings, talking to each other. In this video, I'll give you some important details about the SBA loan. I'll talk about some housing options. I'll talk about the reopening of Maui to tourists. Maybe I'll even talk about what I would do if I was still there. Okay, first the details of the Small Business Administration loan. Make sure you guys read the fine print about those loans. The SBA will assume your current mortgage, but your interest rate will go down. It has to be a certain percentage point below the going rate. So I think they said it was going to be 4.3 or 5 or something. The SBA will also require a lien against your burned out property, and you will have to maintain full insurance on it like when your house was still there. Unless you can get the insurance company to write a letter to the SBA explaining why the property doesn't need any fire insurance. That should be obvious, but getting that letter is harder than you might think. You might still have to pay full insurance on it, like when your house was still on your property. But if you can get that letter, then you can just pay for liability insurance, and I think it was about a third or maybe a half of the cost of what I was paying when my house was still there. Just saying. I also had to continue to pay for water and sewer on my property that burned because the water board would have gone out of business. If you decide to sell that property, those proceeds will go straight to the SBA, and you will have to go through a refinance with them to make sure you still qualify for any remaining balance that is left on your loan. Another thing to consider is that they will take any additional proceeds that come from your insurance, if you had it, for dwellings and personal property, if they loaned out for that. These are just some things to consider. I just don't want you guys to lose your property over there because you don't know the details of the loan. The second thing is that it looks like they're getting ready to reopen Maui, and some of you guys are moving out of the hotels and into Airbnbs or other more permanent structures. I know it's hard to move. I moved 9 times before I got into an ohana. Then I stayed in that for about a year until I was able to buy this house. I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's a church in Kahului trying to create a settlement of tiny homes. They have 17 of them set up so far, and they're trying to figure out how they can get water and sewage to those little tiny homes. If I was there and I wanted to stay on the island and I had a means of income, I would probably try to get on the list for one of those tiny homes. If I wanted to stay in Hawaii in general, I'd look all over Maui for more permanent housing, maybe on Oahu or the Big Island, or I might be looking in Las Vegas. I worked in tourism when I lived on Maui, and realistically, tourism levels won't recover for a long time. Being Haole, I would probably think about leaving the island to come home to California to save what is left of housing and jobs for the native Hawaiians, the Asians, and the other South Pacific Islanders who live there. As far as employment goes, they will probably be allowing some pop-up businesses around the Lahaina area in the form of food trucks and outdoor markets, coffee stands, little things like that. You could sell red t-shirts that say Lahaina Strong. Every single tourist who comes to Maui from here on is probably going to want one of those. The tourists who will be coming over will spend money in Lahaina and on the west side. The whole world has a broken heart over what happened there. Everyone I know has some kind of connection to Hawaii in some way. And by the way, you guys, the paddle out over there was so beautiful and emotional. I wish I could have been there. I know it feels early for tourists to be coming over, and it does for me too. If I was a fire victim over there, I'd be thinking, are you kidding me right now? But the governor is just trying to save what is left north of Lahaina, you know, all those restaurants and shops, not to mention the south side and the north shore. I mean, as you guys know, this disaster is affecting Maui as a whole. Another thing you guys can do is to get on your state senators and representatives to support Representative Doug LaMalfa's. He's from California, and he introduced a bill which exempts wildfire victims from paying federal taxes on monies received for recovery. Also get them to pass a bill in the state of Hawaii exempting victims from having to pay state tax on recovery money. I'll be going through the tax situation next year, and I'm not looking forward to it. I'm hoping I have the money to pay, since a lot of that money I didn't get to even keep. A lot of it went to the SBA, it went to rent, it went to buying a new home, and some things to put in it, and the list goes on. But as it stands now, the federal government will be taxing that money as income. So keep that in mind and save money to pay those taxes. Okay guys, that's enough for the last video. I'm wishing you guys a swift and wonderful recovery, however that happens. Everyone sort of spreads out onto their own trajectory with it. My town is spread out all over the United States. Some of those people, I'll never see them again. If you guys have any questions, just leave them down below in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. And I hope everything turns out better for you guys. Once again, I love you, and I'm thinking of you and praying for you every day. Mahalo nui loa for watching. Mwah.